everyone, it's Sevy. The 2.4 Spiral Abyss refresh brought most of the dogs back in their cages and replaced it with some familiar and new annoying faces. In this video, I wanted to share how I full starred my floor 12 and some personal tips that could help your Abyss run. I tried my best not to use as many 5 stars so the teams can be a bit more relatable and accessible. Of course, how many stars you can get will depend on your skill level, available teams, and level of investment. I'll go through each chamber and showcase my full runs while commenting every now and then my thoughts and advice as we go through them. Now, time for pain. Floor 12 here has a leyline disorder wherein the enemies start with higher resistances, but you can bring those down with normal attack damage. I guess if you're using more of a burst, quick swap team, or a charged attack unit, you'll want to weave in normal attacks to take advantage of the disorder. There's also the Blessing, which stacks auto-attack damage increase when your attacks hit multiple opponents, clearly to promote Xiao, though only half of the floor 12 will utilize this due to its single bosses. So for the first chamber, we're up against the Perpetual Mechanical Array in the first half and the new Pyro Lector in the second half. Naturally, we want a single target boss killer in the first half, so I put my Yoimiya team consisting of Xingqiu, Bennett, and Zhongli. Though you can replace Yoimiya here with someone else like Hu Tao or Ayaka or whoever you have that fits the role of doing high single target damage. I'd also recommend a team that can do melt or vape reactions. Actually, I put the national team here and it works pretty well.
Solidify!
So for me, I don't waste all my skills until the array does its plunge attack. When it starts doing that, set up your DPS so when it's paralyzed on the ground, your DPS can get in as much damage as possible. But since I used Yoimiya, she can still auto-attack the array even when it's above.
Let me weave you a verse. Huh? Rain outline.
Keep whittling its HP that way until it summons the smaller ruin machines. Ideally, for 3 stars, it should be at half HP or less when that happens. Look for the one with the ring that's glowing. That's what will have an HP bar. Some machines have different attack patterns. For me, there are 2 very annoying ones. First is the Ruin Cruiser, which will teleport away from you, so you want to get behind it and make it teleport toward the paralyzed Perpetual Array so that when it's destroyed, you don't have to run back too far. Second is the Ruin Defender, which forms a shield in front that's really tough and your attacks have to go around it. I prefer the one that stays in place, but that's randomized.
Let's light it up!
Now for the second half. Hydro is the fastest here against the Pyro Lector. I put a Kokomi Taser team here, but having someone like Child, Xingqiu, or even Barbara or Mona works too. Adding Overload or Melt will make it faster than relying on just vape reactions alone, but those are slower by themselves. Putting in an Anemo for Swirl is also a good option. When it starts, immediately run behind the Rift Hound so that they'll charge you towards the wall. Bait them toward the edge and don't let them get too far apart. Electro Charge works nicely with them, but they can be frozen as well to keep them from moving too much. Once the Pyro Lector appears, get rid of the 2 other enemies first, because they'll be a huge nuisance while you're trying to fight the Pyro Lector with its Dendro and burning and all that.
Power that ended hot dawn! Burst and rebuild! Animal test 6308! Back off!
With the Lector, it's just a matter of forcing him to his shielded state, dodging all his pyro attacks while removing his shield with Hydro. Getting rid of the Pyro Fruit thing that Pyro Lector drops will remove a chunk of his shield, so target that if he drops it.
Hold the line! A brash maneuver!
And that's pretty much it. After the first chamber, I had to reset the floor and change my second team since we're fighting Hydro Heralds. I went with a Cryo Melt team consisting of Ganyu, Xiangling, Diona, and Sucrose. For the first half, use a single target DPS or use Melt Vape Elemental reactions. I used the same team as the first chamber. With a Geovishap, I first positioned myself by its butt. When it's waking up, get back some energy if you need to, and start setting up your rotation so that once it's vulnerable, you can start doing damage with your main DPS right away. Now it'll face you and either start with doing attacks in place or charge forward. If it charges towards you, move around so you won't get cornered, but the Geovishap will be forced toward the edge. If it gets the chance to move around too much, it'll even go underground and you can't hit it. Having a strong shielder is highly recommended because countering the Geovishap with a shield can deal a good amount of damage and save you a lot of time. If you don't have a shielder, then your dodging or iframing skills should be up to the task. Now for the second half. Cryo and Pyro are very useful with freezing and additionally melting or vaporizing the lectors. This floor seems to want to showcase cryo units like Ganyu, Ayaka, Chongyun, and now Shenhe. Edgebait the Abyss Heralds. Stay at the corners so you can crowd control them, just make sure to dodge their attacks because those hurt. They also have attacks that, if it hits your character, will increase your ability's cooldowns. So just dodge, dodge, dodge.
Stand clear. Can't handle your drink. Absorption test. Born of ice and frost. Shake it. Oh. Animal test 6308. Swirl. Lock 2. Access denied. This is long overdue.
It's best if you can freeze the two Abyss Heralds close to one another and do AoE damage. In my case, I'm using Ganyu, Xiangling, and Sucros's AoE attacks as much as possible if they're together.
Stand clear. Animal test 630. The end. So, look at you. Booze it aqua. Shake it out.
The world, the earth will burn. Come. The abyss will rise once again.
And the final reset. The first half deals with 2 Ruin Guards and 2 Ruin Graders, while the second has 1 Maguu Kenki. The roles are reversed this time, and it's likely that your first half team will be switched to the second half. In my case, Yoimiya's team is now against the Maguu Kenki, while we want some AoE damage in the first half. In my case, I used the Sukokomon team. The national team works here too, or whatever your best AoE damage teams are. A shielder isn't that necessary for the first half since you can dodge, tank, or iframe your way through it, but it helps nonetheless if you're feeling squishy. So for Ruin Guards, you can stay in the center and they'll both walk towards you. Heading straight to either of them could cause the other to go rocket mode, but it doesn't happen every time. If they go into rocket mode, that's time wasted. You can keep resetting until you get it right. For Ruin Graders, move to one of them. Staying in the center will cause them to bulldoze towards you and past you, and they'll be too far apart. Ideally, of course, you want them close together so they die at the same time.
No rest for the wicked.
Covenant of the deep.
Midnight Phantasma.
Goba, get them. Animal test 6308. Enhanced animal module 70. Eat this. Taurus, bring refuge.
For the second half, it's just 1 Maguu Kenki, so a single target DPS will help a lot. Spend the first few seconds recharging your bursts if they're not yet charged. You can't damage him, but you can generate particles with your skills. A shielder helps a lot in the second half, but if you're familiar enough with Maguu Kenki's attack patterns, he can be iframed and dodged easier or more predictably. Still, shielding of course means you don't have to interrupt yourself to iframe. If Zhongli is your shielder, be sure to face away when summoning his pillar so it won't get destroyed immediately. Then it's a matter of keeping Maguu Kenki sandwiched between you and the wall, or else he'll zoom away. You and his back should be facing the wall so that when he does his dodge away from you, he'll pin himself to the wall. It's annoying if he teleports in the open field because that means he has more mobility to dodge you and it's time wasted running towards him.
Ring cutter.
Solidify.
Fuse is lit. Here come the fireworks.
Solidify.
No, my sword. Witness the power.
So if you're interested in my character builds, I'll leave them in at the end of the video. But that's how I did my 2.4 Spiral Abyss Floor 12. What about you? How did you get past the DPS and element checks? And what teams did you use? Let me know in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this video or if it helped you out, don't forget to leave a like, consider subscribing to my channel if you haven't already, and I will see you soon. Take care!